Hello and welcome to HODL Harmony, where the beat of the blockchain meets the rhythm of riches. Are you ready to ride the crypto wave with me? I'm Tom Durante, the maestro, a crypto enthusiast who jumped into this wild world back in 2020 with a GPU mining rig. I'm bullish on Bitcoin and Cardano, but I also like chasing profit with other coins. With my music background, I bring a unique vibe to breaking down the crypto economy. Think of it as a soundtrack to your hodling journey. Here on HODL Harmony, expect weekly or perhaps more frequent market updates, simple technical analysis to read those charts, wallet guides to keep your coin safe, stories from my mining journey that is ongoing, and practical crypto tips. Whether you're new or a seasoned hodler, I'm here to learn and grow with you. I may be a few years ahead of you on your journey, but I am no expert, just passionate. So as always, do your own research. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, share this video with your friends, follow me on X and Instagram for more. Let's find the harmony in hodling together. Alright, I want to do a little something different. I don't know if anybody else on the crypto space is doing this. In my other channel, Durante's House of Music, where I do all kinds of music related things, I do a daily music history. And so I thought I'd bring that over to the Bitcoin world, crypto world. And it just so happens that today is a very special day. I didn't even realize. You just get stuck in the groove of like, what's happening today? And you gotta just look back and say, where have we been? And that'll kind of help guide you to where we're going. On April 19th, two notable events in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency history stand out. A year ago today was the Bitcoin halving. It was just a surprise and serendipitous that it happened today, the day that I decided to record my first crypto video. The fourth Bitcoin halving occurred, reducing the mining reward from 6.25 Bitcoin to 3.125 Bitcoin per block. This event, happening roughly every 4 years, slows the issuance of new Bitcoins, reinforcing its scarcity. While Bitcoin hit an all-time high before the halving, for the first time ever by the way, prices dipped slightly afterwards, though later surged due to market enthusiasm. If you don't know how Bitcoin works, approximately every 4 years, or a certain amount of blocks, the issuance of new Bitcoin gets cut in half, and that is deflationary. So that's why Bitcoin is valuable. Over the course of these videos, we're going to talk a lot about why Bitcoin is valuable, what gives it its value, and why I hold it, why I encourage you to hold it, although, again, it's not financial advice. But it says, no specific event on April 19th in other years. Despite extensive records, no other major Bitcoin or crypto event is consistently documented for April 19th in prior years across sources. The halving in 2024 remains the primary historical fact for this date. For a second fact, a nearby event on April 18th, 2011 marks the launch of Namecoin, the first altcoin, which aimed to create a decentralized domain name system. While not exactly on April 19th, it's a significant milestone close to this date. Well, that's interesting. So we got the Bitcoin halving, most recently, and the issuance of Namecoin, which I have no real memory of. That was pretty early on in Bitcoin's history in 2011. I kick myself pretty regularly for not getting into Bitcoin sooner. If I can usher you into this new realm, the new monetary world that we're heading into, and the new economy of digital asset, then this will all be worth it. We are still very early in this world, that S-curve that people talk about, where the advent of the internet, let's pull that S-curve of the advent of technologies. The S-curve model is widely used to describe the life cycle of technology and innovation. It illustrates the progression of technological improvements through three distinct phases: infancy, ramping up, and maturity. Okay, so that's basically where we are at right now. Okay, so we're basically right here, somewhere right along here. Let's see if we can find one. S-curve, internet, Bitcoin, etc. S-curve in Bitcoin. Let's go to images. S-curve. Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking at. innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and the laggards. Okay, I think we are past the innovator section, but we are certainly right here in the heart of the early adopter section. Okay, Bitcoin is going to skyrocket in price and adoption as time goes forward. We'll be in the early majority still for quite some time. Who knows? I'm just guessing, but maybe up until the 2050s, say. And then after that, it still will increase in value and adoption. It will be the late majority period. So if you're watching this video in 2025, then you are still an early adopter. I've been in this market for 5 years. So I would say, I was not an innovator by any stretch of the imagination, and that's why I kick myself. Because what was I doing? I was in college. I had very little money to speak of, but if I had just put $5 into Bitcoin when it was a penny, when it was 5 cents, when it was whatever, of course, it's nice to say this and say, oh yeah, I wish I could have done that. I wish this, what if, but so many things could have changed. I could have, when it went from 5 cents to $5 or $50, I would have sold it. Who knows? Who knows what I would have done? So you buy Bitcoin at the price that you deserve. And so my first purchase was less than $10,000. The price of Bitcoin was less than $10,000. My first purchase was much less than $10,000. You start humbling. And you keep buying and you keep buying if that's what you choose to do with your money. So here's one. Oh, look at this. This is a good one. Can we just view the image? Open image in new tab. Okay, here we go. So this is a great one. This is 1890. We had the stove. We had electrical power. And look at these S-curves. And then at this point, it's ubiquitous. 100% of people are adopting this technology. Okay, the refrigerator is this gray line. 1920, 1930. By 1950, every home that could afford one had a refrigerator. The car had not quite an S-curve, but kind of tumultuous there. 20s and the wartime kind of dropped it off, and then boom, color TV. I remember my parents talking about that. My parents were born in the 50s, so they were around before color TV. And look at that, skyrocketed. If you could have bought stock in RCA or whatever at this point, ooh boy, you would have made some money, right? The internet, that was my era. I remember a time before the internet was ubiquitous, okay? I was born in 1989, right here. I didn't get my first computer till I don't know, probably 2000s, 1999. We had one maybe in 1998, and it was a MS-DOS computer, and I couldn't make it work. I could just barely make, Oregon Trail or something happen on that thing, because I didn't grow up with those kind of computers. And so by the late 2000s, the early 2000s, 2000 to 2005 or so, by the time I got into high school, I was driving around the neighborhood on trash day, picking up people's old towers that they would just throw away the desktop tower when they got a new one, and I would scarf parts off of them and Frankenstein put together a new PC based on all of these parts. So that's what I did. That's how I became interested in technology. And look at this, the internet and the cell phone going up at the same time. Okay, I grew up with flip phones. My first cell phone was one of those brick cell phones, and you ride around and it worked, and you didn't really have much to use it for. My mom would call and check on me or whatever. And by the time I graduated high school before the iPhone came out. So when I was in high school, I still had a flip phone. When I left and went to college, I had one of those flip to the side phones where you'd had a full keyboard and the screen would flip this way and it was touch screen. And then eventually, in midway through my college years, I got an iPhone for the first time, and that was history. I've never looked back. I've never owned an Android phone. I've only owned iPhones. Okay, social media. Boom, that is not even an S, that is just a straight line. I remember MySpace. I had a MySpace. It's still up, I think. Facebook, I have that still, although, some of you younger folks may think that's a little bit old school. That's what I had, and I still do. I'm not big on Instagram, although I use it for my piano business and all that kind of stuff, my production stuff. And I've just recently got onto X, just mostly for news. It's like very, very quick at news. And then here, and I just say, man, I graduated high school in 2007. I graduated college in 2012. And I was an adult working. I went to trade school after that for a couple of years. We'll talk more about my story. But in 2015, I was a working adult. I was in my 20s, and I could have been an innovator. Given my past with the computer technology that I knew how to do, there is no reason that I was not mining Bitcoin in 2015. Why was I not mining Bitcoin? I don't know. It took me 5 years until that point. At that point, I'll tell you why. At that point, there was so much negative press about Bitcoin that I was just like, okay, whatever. I don't have money to invest, and I'm not interested, because at that time, the only news that you heard was Bitcoin is for criminals, Bitcoin is a scam. Okay, whatever. I didn't have any time or patience to look into it. I was just out of trade school, fresh out of university, starting my business, trying to make money. And if only I had known that I could have just put literally a computer that I had already had, I didn't even have to spend any money. I could have just went right into Bitcoin, and I would have never had to work again. If I held it, if I hodled, I would have been hodling very harmoniously. But that's not the way that it worked out. This is HODL Harmony. I'm Tom Durante, your guide through the crypto journey. Please come back for more. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this video with your friends, and make sure you have a lovely evening. Let's find the harmony in hodling together.